AITA for uninviting my future sister-in-law from my wedding after she told my fiancé I was pregnant. I decided to keep my pregnancy to myself because I don't know what I'm going to do about it, and I knew my fiancé wasn't going to be happy with the news. My future sister-in-law best friend is the only other person who knew, as I only took the test at her suggestion and at her house. She also agreed that her brother was unlikely to be happy about it, but she felt like I should tell him immediately anyway. We kept arguing over it because I told her I needed time to process it, and she felt like I was making excuses to avoid telling him. In the end, she told him herself while we were having dinner with their family. He was so upset he confronted me in front of everybody, so now they all know and everybody is upset with me for keeping it from him. His sister kept trying to reach out and apologize after it happened, but I was ignoring her as her only excuse was that he was her brother, so she couldn't keep it from him, and that she gave me 3 weeks to tell him myself. The last time she called me I was so upset that I answered and yelled at her. In the heat of the moment, I uninvited her from the wedding and told her I would find a new bridesmaid. I've given my fiancé and his family another reason to be upset with me, but I've refused to let her come to the wedding even as a regular guest despite them asking me to, and it being important to them for her to attend. AITA. Now for some comments. Please explain why y'all are getting married if you can't even tell him you're pregnant. Yeah, I was wondering if they are even ready to get married if they can't have that conversation. 100% this. If you can't tell your freaking fiancé this kind of news, regardless of how he's going to feel about it, why are you even getting married? That doesn't sound like a healthy partnership. The unexpected pregnancy situation is different in a world where you can be prosecuted for abortion. You can't tell him you're pregnant but you're going to marry him? I don't blame SIL because OP had 3 weeks to tell him. At that point I probably would have stepped in as well. And as everyone is saying, why marry someone you can't talk to? Don't you think you fearing the reaction of your future husband is the bigger problem here? Why is he supposed to be angry over the pregnancy when he's the one who caused it? I never feared his reaction. I just knew what he would want, but I wasn't sure what I wanted, and I wanted to be 100% sure how I felt about the pregnancy before I told him, because otherwise I knew I would just do what he wanted since my emotions were all over the place, and it would have been the easier choice to make if he also wanted it. AITA for not telling him, especially when you are planning on marrying him. AITA for expecting her to keep that a secret from her brother. AITA for punishing her for your poor decisions. Why are you marrying a man if you don't want to tell him you're expecting? He's the father and your soon-to-be husband. It seems like you'd be the first person to be told. It affects both of your lives forever. Depending on where OP lives, it kind of sounds like she was waiting for the time limit on an abortion to be up. Maybe she knew he would push for an abortion. She knew she wasn't going to do it, and would rather ambush him than hear how he wants to abort it. For sure. I would think the wedding guest list would be lower on the list of problems OP would want to be addressing before the wedding. This is a mess. Listen, if you can't even tell your fiancé you're pregnant for weeks, you have no business getting married. Keeping secrets this early, especially out of fear that he will react poorly, that does not bode well for a future happy relationship. Sure, it sucks that your best friend told your secret, but it was her own brother that you were keeping a secret from. Your fiancé sucks for making a scene in front of a bunch of people instead of talking to you directly. Why would you marry someone when you're not on the same page about kids? In the beginning I was going with NTA because I assumed it was a day or two, but 3 weeks? It seems like you are trying to remove any discussion of an abortion off the table. 3 weeks is insanely long, and as a sister she felt she needed to tell him the truth about his potential child. Also, you shouldn't be marrying someone if you can't talk to them. In conclusion, if you don't feel comfortable enough to tell your fiancé that you're pregnant, then you shouldn't be planning a wedding with them. While your SIL crossed a line, I can't be too angry at her. She clearly cared about your fiancé's feelings more than you do. She should have kept her nose out of it, but also, when you have a major secret to keep from someone, the last person you should tell is their sibling. I don't care how good of friends you are, that's her family. Process your feelings with someone else. On a tangential note, you sure you want to go through with this wedding? It sounds like there's just a lot going on here. You knew for 3 weeks without telling him because he's probably gonna be mad? Does he not want children? Do you want children? The longer you wait, the less likely you will have a chance to do something about it. SIL shouldn't have told him at a family dinner, but he has every right to know that his fiancé is pregnant with his child.